Getting the lingo down pat. So when you're talking to an investor, you really want to be able to speak to them with the language of the investment community. Now, it's a small community. There's certain terms that are really only native to that community. No one else is going to know what you're talking about. But if they are an investor already or have dabbled in it, have questions for you about certain terms, you're going to need to have a general understanding of what they're talking about.
So there's lots of different things that are included in that lingo. So, what is your NOI? What is your ROI? What is your cash flow? How are you going to be able to explain what those terms mean? So when we're talking to a joint venture partner and we say, oh, it has X amount of cash flow, they might not know what that means. And so we have to be able to explain it in a nice, clear, understandable way.
So you don't have to know exactly what something means. In other words, you don't have to be able to define it or explain it to them in really defined terms. You can say to them, I'm going to find out about that for you. But in general, you need to be able to understand if they're talking about amortization, they're talking about a mortgage. If they're talking about, can't remember what the other one was, but in general, you need to be able to speak the lingo. Now, how are we going to be able to do that? One way that we found is by listening again and again to audiobooks or podcasts that talk about these kinds of things. It just goes into your brain like osmosis, and all of a sudden those terms, those words, they're just second nature.
Right. So, everything from the numbers to the economic fundamentals, what's driving the market, you got to keep yourself up on that stuff. So whether that's reading the latest newspapers, getting newsletters from certain agencies, so keep yourself fully informed. And that's really what Tiff's talking about. So not only reviewing information you might have or courses you might have taken or reading books that are real estate related, the more and more that this goes into your brain, it becomes second nature. Now you can start just saying these things without really having to think hard about it. And that's really the key.
So I had I've never been a big dreamer, like literally dreaming at night. I've never dreamt very much. But I have a man of my dreams, and he was in my dreams for a good 2 years because I listened to so many of his audio stuff that his voice, I was in my head. I could recite word for word a lot of his things. So listen to those things when you're
man of your dreams.
Man of my dreams.
Really? Like other than me.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So listen to those things when you're driving or when you're cooking or when you're just doing things that are mindless. You don't have to be intent and listening and writing notes. Just have it on in the background. Those terms, those kinds of language. It's a language and it's a culture that we have in this little mom and pop investing world. And that's where you just want to be able to get comfortable understanding. If someone says something to you about a LOI, you don't have to define it back to them, but you want to have an idea of the fact that they're talking about a legal document. So those kinds of things will come if you just surround and make sure you're really surrounded by it all the time.
Okay, so focus on learning the lingo. Listen over and over. Repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. Repetition will really, really help.